Right, I've already figured out when I put it there. We're talking to Tom on Wednesday. I don't know what time it is.
The 5th of November.
The bump. Oh my.
Bonfire night.
When everything went. Oh, it would have been.
It almost did.
Almost did.
Maybe it should have done. Do you have a view on Guy Fawkes?
Well, I did my own kind of Guy Fawkes thing when I went into September the 11th, just last month.
And what did you do?
Oh no, month before now, isn't it? Because we're in November. September the 11th, 24th anniversary of 9/11. I think I actually exploded more than a light bomb. I've got a photograph which looks just like I've opened a Stargate.
Okay. And where did you do this?
In Westminster Hall,
Okay.
inside the House of Parliament.
And how did you do it?
How did
you create this light bomb, this Stargate?
I don't know really. By my presence.
By your presence?
I did make my sound. I did do like a bit of a sort of because I've got this sense, if I walk into a space, like a building,
Yes.
I know, I have a sense of where the resonant frequency is, the sweet spot, if you like, where if you hit it,
Yep.
you can sustain it like it's a bell.
Okay.
And it needs minimal effort, and it goes on. I can sustain it for an incredibly long time. That people are going, how on earth can you breathe? You know what I mean? Make a sound for that long without breathing.
Okay.
Okay. But when if I give a full blast, or even just approaching, people are going, oh, you better stop now, because it's becoming really powerful. Anyway, as
I would say carry on.
Well, I didn't want to get thrown out at that point.
Okay.
So I just did a little test as I walked through this section, which apparently is the oldest part, where Charles I made some speech.
Yep.
A guy in the laundromat told me about,
Okay.
called George. And it's so, and that part there, you're not allowed to photograph.
Okay.
But as I walked through it to the lobby area, which then divides, and you go left to the Houses of Commons, and I think right to the House of Lords.
Okay.
But this section here, and there's all these sort of statues or carved images of people and things, down this thing. And as I walked through that, I just started to make a little bit of a sound, just at a low level, but and I just sort of thought, yeah, okay, I've got it, but I'm going to stop now. I just gave a little test, but I definitely made my sound in that building, and then whilst I was in the lobby, I engaged with people, human beings, and so on. So my sound was being made. So something. I clearly did it.
Okay.
And my sound is very powerful.
Okay.
I've had a number of witnesses to this.
Okay. So can you describe how it happened?
How?
Well, did a ball of light appear, or was it?
Well, it was after the. I was in Westminster Hall. Towards the end of my time there. I've been there about 2.5 hours. I was coming down the steps and thought, I should get some kind of proof that I was here. And I think I took a video of me just saying a few things, and then I had a member of staff come up to me and said, you can't take videos. And they stood over me while I deleted it and took it out my bin and everything.
Okay.
So I thought, I'll go along with that. And I had got a still.
Okay.
And when I got home, I looked at the picture.
Yeah.
I thought, oh my gosh, I didn't see that when I was taking the photograph.
Okay.
The selfie. And I took it and showed it when I got back home to one of my housemates. And the first thing he says, he just looks at the image, he goes, Stargate.
Okay. And what was there in the image? A point of light?
Well, I can send it you.
Okay. In my imagination, and imagination is actually really the enemy, because the imagination stops us seeing reality. But from my imagination, from my experience with similar things, I would expect it to be some sort of manifestation of light, or maybe a ripple, or a ball, or something like that, but light as organised not in the way that we typically see it. And I would expect that would be from the astral realm, and that you speak about vibrations and activating vibrations and so on. Of course, the chakras are vibrations and sounds, and I would expect that you would open a portal, as you say, Stargate, to the astral realm in that building, which obviously has its own particular frequencies and resonances built into the architecture, which in turn are often connected with the sacred science and astrology. And it's significant that you did it in a forbidden area. I mean, there may be an exoteric reason why they forbid photography there, and a kind of a rational explanation, either to do with security or to preserve the monuments there. But the esoteric reason, we always look for the reason behind that. Maybe that part of the building, it has the potential to connect you to another realm.
And I just recently learned that that's the oldest part, or that's the original Parliament.
Okay.
That's what somebody called George told me in the laundromat. Now I haven't.
In the laundromat here? Or?
Yes.
Okay. King George, maybe.
Well, it's funny, isn't it, that his name was George after, and we end up talking. And I looked up Charles the First.
Okay.
I never really paid much attention to history at school. It didn't really interest me, actually. And what I think personifies him is just his absolute belief in divine
kingship.
Yes, that he really believed that he,
I agree,
above everybody else, was the one to say how things go.
I agree with that. We should have divine kings. Yeah.
We should have.
Yes.
I'm with you on that. Was he?
Yes. but I don't think James the First was.
Yeah, I wasn't there, man. I don't know.
How do you know you weren't there? I think I was in the Civil War. I have thought about the different reincarnations I've been in, and one time I was in the Civil War. I'm sure of that. I think I was also a pirate in the 18th century. I was definitely alive in the 18th century. I love the 18th century. I was in the Civil War. I think I was in ancient Greece. I know I was. And I know I was in ancient Rome. I think I may have been in the time of Muhammad as well. And possibly in China as well. And maybe also in ancient Egypt. Those are the places that resonate most with me in history and geography. But I was not in America, I was not in South America, I was not in Africa, I was not in Australasia or Japan or anywhere like that. I may have been in Russia as well, but I was definitely here in the Civil War, and that's a period that resonates with me very much. And I would have supported the Cavaliers. I'm a Cavalier.
Not a Roundhead.
When I was...
You've got all the information now.
When I was younger, I liked the Roundheads. I liked the Roundheads when I was younger. As I've got older...
We're not going to read anything into that, are we? It's the family audience.
I'm a Cavalier now.
No.
Titty ye not, didn't he say?
Titty you
Lurk
not.
you. I've never really seen Frankie Hut. I've seen only clips of him,
Ah,
and I know the story from my grandmother. But oh yeah, I get the impression of what he was like a camp comedian, like Kenneth Williams and so on. But have you considered that entity that you saw was Charles I?
have I considered it? No. What I've noticed is that
I think it was.
a couple of weeks ago,
Go on.
I was drawn to accept an invitation to a gathering because they told me it was going to be to do with the Akashic Records.
Okay, I remember you told me this on one of our previous conversations about a woman who knew about the Akashic Records.
Well, that's what I was told. That's what was on the billboard that was part of getting me there.
Okay.
So that got me there. When I got there, it wasn't about the Akashic Records, but
Okay.
I've obviously, at some level, opened up to considering or looking at that.
Okay.
You know, maybe because it might help me understand myself better. Maybe, I don't know. I'm willing to. You seem very, very. You're clear on your previous incarnations.
Well, at least one was definitely Merlin. I was definitely Merlin the Magician. Well, because that's where I was initiated, in Hartsfell, which is where Merlin's cave is, and where he retreated as a hermit. So I was drawn there, and when I was there, the second time I went to try and do 40 days there, and as I was walking back up, very few people visited. There was this old lady coming down, and as soon as she saw me, she said, "Ah, Merlin." And I said, "Yes, I'm Merlin." And we talked together, and we had a long conversation. Then the next year, I went back at a different time for a much shorter time period, and I was just stood on top of Merlin's well, and suddenly a group of people came up the little pathway, and it was the same woman, but with her family. She brought her family back, and as soon as she saw me standing at the top, she said, "Merlin, hello." And I said, "Hello," and she came up, even though she's quite old, it's quite a steep climb. I let her come up to me to talk away from her family. And she, although her mother lived not in the nearby town of Moffat, but in a farm quite close to Moffat, but she herself lived further up in the Highlands, and she taught Gaelic, so she knew the old tongue, and so on. The old sounds, and we talked, and the reason she was there that time and had come back was that her mother had died, finally, and that's why she was there with her family. So of course, I do not think there are such accidents. I think such things are sent from the gods and from God. And often people are sent to me who are near death or have had a relative die recently. And at that point, I'd established, I'd met the astral body of Rudolf Hess on Skirrid Far. So I'd spoken to the dead. I knew for sure you don't die, because when I was up there and I saw his astral light, and I said, "Rudolf Hess, Rudolf Hess, Rudolf Hess," the light grew more and more and more. So I knew that for sure, and so I could tell her for certain that you don't die, and that her mother was not dead and in a realm of light. And I think that was why she was sent back to me that time. But on both occasions, there was what Jung would call synchronicity, a meaningful coincidence, but I would just call a sign from God, or someone sent from God, or sent through the gods, the old gods of that land, to me. And that's one of the reasons. I have many other reasons to think I am a reincarnation of Merlin and to know it, but that is one reason, because this woman identified me as such straight away, and I'd already thought I am Merlin, and then she saw me and said it instantly. And so that's how I came to know that past life. And yes, so it was a communication with her that was not a lively conversation because of the gravity of what we were talking about, but it was a profound conversation, and I could see The tears in her eyes. She didn't actually cry because she's moved by the truth that you do not die. And so that's one incarnation, a reincarnation, but I think I have others, and I'm sure ancient Greece, ancient Rome, I think the Islamic world, as I say, possibly Russia, but definitely not Africa, definitely not South America, or Japan or anywhere like that, or Indonesia, or even India. So I think I've stayed quite local. Another one was in the Civil War, another one was in the 18th century, and I think something to do with piracy, probably around Cornwall. I have an image of myself as some kind of squire, like Squire Trelawney from Treasure Island, in maybe sort of a bit of a tumble-down estate that has some kind of secret passage to the sea for a bit of smuggling. Not of a particularly malevolent kind, but sort of, as we were saying, more kind of a lovable rogue character than an actual villain. That's definitely one of them. Definitely in the 18th century. Definitely in the Civil War. Is here in this country, but then again, not in say Anglo-Saxon times or during the Wars of the Roses or anything like that. Not at all. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's why I've been about.
Wow, the Merlin thing really particularly jumps out at me. And there's a trail on my Facebook page, and I'm seeing the it's like a paper trail almost that's leading to the actual experience.
The Holy Grail. Because this all started because I went on a quest for the Holy Grail, and I found it. So the way to go on a quest for the Holy Grail, people get very mixed up about it. And the Holy Grail is an ancient symbol. It's in Christianity. They say it's what was filled with the blood of Christ when he had a spear put into him. And they also say it was carried by Joseph of Arimathea to England, to Glastonbury, at a certain point. But the actual Grail is to be found in Dante, in the Divine Comedy, because the Grail, it is a literal object, but it is not just a literal object, it is a sound, it is a mantra, exactly like Om in the Hindu tradition, and it is written in the stars. And so to find the Grail, I wrote an alchemical great work, inspired partly by C.G. Jung, for the idea of individuation. And I wrote a great deal of poetry. It wasn't intended to be poetry, it was poetry of a certain numerical length. There were 4 parts to this work, each one related to the chakras numerologically. So 333 words, 666 words, and so on, into 4 parts. 777 words, and so on. So I started on that, and that was what eventually drew me to Hartsfell, and my first experience of seeing the other realm, the astral realm, because I, for a series of synchronicities, decided to go there. And when I went there the first time, it's in really the middle of nowhere, it's a very deserted place, a valley. I went to sleep in the night in Heather, and as I was going to sleep, a stag passed behind me, very close, which I thought was very magical in sort of the ordinary sense of the word. My name is Tom Hart, H-A-R-T. A stag is or hart is a male deer which is red, so it's a close symbolic relation to me. But it also features in, say, religion, the heart that panteth after God, and so on. It's actually a symbol of Christ as well. And as it happens, I was born in St. Albans, which is in Hertfordshire, and has the symbol of and has the stag as its symbol. But, and is, St. Albans is the first Christian saint in this country. But, anyway, I went to sleep there, and then in the middle of the night, a voice said to me, "The UFOs are here." And I opened my eyes, and I looked up at the ridgeline in front of me, and I could see a little light moving, and I thought at first this was some people with a torch doing hill walking in the night. I thought, I'm not alone here. But it didn't move like a torch, it moved back and forward in a very even way. And then I looked through a monocular and I could see it was this light bouncing around. And intuition made me turn myself round. Often from the other world it will direct you where to look. And I looked round, and on the other ridgeway behind me, on the ridge behind me in the dark, there was a red ball of like electrical light, I would describe it as. And it came down the hill. And those stayed with me. There were two more that popped in. They stayed with me all night. And it was a beautifully clear night, and I could see all the stars, and there were other things moving around there from the astral realm as well, and also at the same time a meteor shower. So it's a combined effect. And that was when I was fully initiated. I presume this spot where Merlin had his cave as a hermit was an ancient site of initiation that I had discovered. And essentially the Grail, it is an object. The object itself is lost, and I think it was made of black stone. It was made of obsidian.
Obsidian?
Yes, obsidian. They use this in the knives that they used to cut out hearts in Aztec religion. So, but it's very, very black. Like the Black Mirror. John Dee, an old English occultist, had a black mirror you can see at the British Museum, and that is made of obsidian from South America.
For scrying? Or?
For scrying, yes. So the Grail, Dante had the Grail, and because of course as a poet he had the sacred sound, and was part of the Fedele d'Amore, the Brotherhood of Love, the sort of an initiatory organisation. It comes from another dimension ultimately, but was continued by Virgil, because of course Dante's Divine Comedy is a Christianized take on the Aeneid, which Virgil wrote in the Divine Comedy. Virgil guides Dante through hell to go up to heaven, because it's paradoxical. To reach heaven, you have to go through hell, down to the bottom, and then you reach Satan in the middle, and you clamber down his fur, down his tail, and as you come up his tail, everything turns around and you're suddenly going up into heaven. So the journey upwards starts paradoxically with the journey downwards. Most people are trying to journey up. You have to go down, and then you'll go up. So the Grail, in ordinary language, can be summarized with the words, "Love justice, ye who govern the earth." That is what was written on the Grail.
Say that again.
Love justice, ye who govern the earth. So the Grail is about, perhaps related to the final judgment, and it is about a love of justice. But justice, you could define it in ordinary language as to be what is due to a man. But this is justice in the metaphysical sense, which is a sound, like Om. And if we could recover this sound, which I know, but I cannot reveal it except to other initiates, we can restore justice to the earth. Because if you look at the earth today, we're in what the Hindus call the Kali Yuga, what the ancient Greeks called the Age of Lead, what Christians and Muslims call the fallen world, where we are dominated by betrayal and murder and lust and greed and so on, and justice has been lost. And true justice is not something you can work out with your brain. That is part of it in our world, like writing a legal opinion. True justice is a sound, a mantra, and that is what the Grail really is. When the Grail, the object, if it is found again, it fell from Lucifer's crown when there was a war in the heavens. When it is found again, then we will have a completeness. We will have the object that vibrates at that frequency. But at the moment, we just have the sound, which can't be created or destroyed and comes from another dimension. So that is how I entered the other world, for a Grail quest. And for a little while I thought I had to reassemble the round table. And when I decided that, my mother said to me on the day I decided that, she said, "Oh, they're putting the round table back together." And she was referring to the fact that there was an organisation called the Round Table, a charitable organisation that exists in many towns and villages, and they were bringing out every Christmas they bring out like the round table and they do Santa, and she was referring to that. But it was a synchronicity and a sign, and I had a. But but eventually I decided I don't think I have to reassemble the round table. I did have a disciple briefly. He's gone off somewhere else. He feels like he doesn't want to be my disciple at the moment. But really that's sort of a test. I had to put him through. But I don't think I do have to reassemble the round table, in fact. But I am connected to the round table, being Merlin. There are, of course, 12 knights, plus one magician, 13... like 12 disciples plus Jesus.
This is what I talk about, and my pod design is based on the icosahedron,
Okay.
which is 12
Size.
around 1.
Ah.
The centre one is not in form as we know it, but everything points to it. So it exists. The centre exists even though it can't be touched or smelt or felt, whatever.
The sacred centre.
The sacred centre, yes.
The sacred pole, the pole of initiation.
And the dimensions of this pod are such that when you stand in the middle of it,
Yep.
the focal point is your heart.
Okay.
So I talk about this, and I've seen the same thing. I've got like a list of names now that I see as potential members of this 12.
Okay.
So it's like I sense that something is assembling itself.
Yeah.
I'm ready to play my role in whatever that it's going to be, but I know that there is a tremendous power that can be accessed once the 12 are around. I mean, look at the size of a jury. That's 12. We've got these numbers, haven't we? And there's the other types of organisations based on
1 plus 2 is 3. So the Trinity. So everything has to be looked at numerologically. So 1 plus 2 is 3. It's the Trinity. 13, like the 12 plus the magician, is 4, which is the quaternary, which is the 4 magical elements. So whenever you see a number, you have to break it apart and add it up to look at its numerological significance. You say it points to the heart, your pod. The heart, in the Golden Age, everyone fought with the heart and had knowledge of the heart. This has become confused in the modern age because we have sentimental associations with it. Oh, it comes from the heart and all this sort of thing. Actually, the heart isn't that. It goes back to ancient Egypt, and it comes to us now through Christianity, like the Sacred Heart of Jesus, which is old, ancient form of initiation that goes back to Atlantis and Tula and so on. But it isn't to think with the literal biological heart. When we say we think with the heart, that is a symbolic way of speaking of our intuition.
Mm-hmm.
So man, often people get into trouble with religion these days. I've said this to you before. People say religion is the irrational, and no, we have the rational over here, and there's a fight between the rational and the irrational. That is a false dichotomy, because there's also the supra-rational, what is above, not super, but supra. Mm-hmm. So it's what is above, and that is your intuition, and that is knowledge of the heart. And if people use the heart and the intuition, the world would not be in a dark age of violence and disorder and betrayal, because they would be poetic. They would think poetically, and and they would like sine waves on a harp machine. Mm-hmm. The two waves, rather than being separated, would converge upon each other, and people would not be out of harmony with cosmic balance. And that is what we mean by the heart. And the knowledge of the heart is about actually an objective way of seeing the world. It is an objective knowledge. It's not soppy and sentimental like people think at all. They're confused. It's an objective way of seeing the world for intuition, which is as objective as material science like physics, chemistry and biology, but is about your inner state. So, for example, there was a bird just made a call then, and I take that as a sign from God that I'm speaking the truth. Mm-hmm. And that is to use intuition. and the heart.
I think that's probably good
That's the cut.
place to finish.
The bird bookmarked it. The end.